Hi, welcome to Sangha Garden, a place where we can connect and lift our spirits, which is definitely needed in this time, in these trying times. I had planned to begin a series about love, and after the events of the last 3 to 4 weeks, I decided that resilience in our trying times might be a better topic. So, um, hi to everybody, and thank you so much for coming to Sangha Garden. It's a wonderful opportunity for us to bring our spirits, our hearts, our bodies, and minds together to lift our own spirits, but to also radiate that light out into our own communities, into our families, and into our businesses, whatever it is that we do. So let's begin by opening the field and calling the sacred anatomy angels who love to hold us. I call them to hold our field. And this is a beautiful field of spiritual connection, a real healing field, a field that brings us into interaction and energetic engagement with each other. So just as you take a deep breath, allow yourself to experience this field opening and holding you. Something larger than yourself, something larger than your belief system or the size of your house or the chaos in the streets or in the government or in the news media. Something larger than all of that. And that's the field of consciousness that we engage in. And so as we allow ourselves to be lifted up into this group connection, we begin to realize that the human condition is this as well as the everyday struggles. Most of us are in a kind of state of shock about the crumbling ethics we see in our politics and in our world and in our religious organizations and just kind of everywhere. We see ethics falling apart. And I think people are shocked and wounded deeply by things being perpetrated in their name by people more powerful than you are. We're frustrated by the constant barrage of media. We're injured by social media. And we're unsure about what's next. The ground is shifting under our feet. And this is not something that's just happening in the United States. This is something that's happening globally. This is a global experience. And so as we experience that as a reality and a truth, we also must remember that there is this larger conscious field that we all are connected with, and that our brothers and sisters all over the globe are connected to us in this larger, more beautiful, creative field that we connect to as individuals and as spirits. So let's set our intention to be continually held, nurtured, and guided by this field, and that experience will continue long after our Sangha garden ends. When I chose the title Resilience in Our Trying Times, I wanted to look at the ways that we create, produce, and find resilience. And as always, I went back to the sacred anatomy, that is my touchstone. And I went to a part of the anatomy called the four aspects, which are the four aspects of the authentic self. And you might have thought of them in your wanderings in the spiritual world as the higher self. We have a higher self, we have a authentic self that is essentially our spiritual nature. And it has four faces, or four aspects. It has a physical, an emotional, a psychological or mental, and a spiritual aspect. And those four aspects are like four faces of a beautiful goddess. Four different faces looking to different directions, holding different ideas, and holding different currents of human energy. So each one of us has these four aspects, and each of those aspects bring you, the smaller you, the persona, the part of you that is functioning in the world in these trying times, that part of you is attuned to this higher self or more expanded aspect. And the exciting thing about looking clearly at how the higher self is divided into these four streams or currents is that you begin to realize that you do have resilience. You begin to see that you're not alone, that you're not out on an ice floe in the middle of the Atlantic, that you, in fact, have a resilience that's innate to you. So you can ask yourself questions about each of these aspects. And I'm going to pose some of these questions today, but by no means are these the only questions you can ask your four aspects. So let's take a moment and get in touch with those four aspects. There's a location for them. You rise up beyond your physical body and above your head about 20 feet. There are the four aspects, and they watch over your entire sacred anatomy, which is very large, 20 feet in all directions in a kind of oval shape, and contains 7 systems. It's very complex. There's lots to do with it. And there's ways that we can work with our sacred anatomy and improve our daily lives. So today, we're going to touch the four aspects and discover the ways that those four authentic aspects of our divine self do direct us and help us. I think a lot of times the way we lose resilience is we forget that we're not alone, and we start to feel like we're doing it all by ourselves, and we're pushing the enormous boulder up the hill completely alone with no help from anybody. When you begin to explore the idea of four aspects of the authentic self, and you begin to understand this innate spiritual nature of your own sacred anatomy, you start to realize that you're so much more than your physicality. You're so much more than your emotional currents. You're so much more than your figuring out of your mental psychological self. And you're so much more than your pleading to the divine to help you make it through another day. You're more than these things. And I want to encourage you right now to, if you have a paper and pencil, it might help you, take some notes and remember sort of the answers that you give yourself in this little process that I'm going to lead you through. So if you would take your paper and write on it physical and draw a line under it. And then let's take a nice deep breath. And I'm going to ask you a question that may at first seem kind of obvious, but really as you dive into it, there's so much to it. We think of the physical and we immediately think of food and water, exercise. But we don't necessarily think about something really important. And that is, how does your body give you joy? How does your body give you joy? So just take a minute right now and write down on the paper all the ways that you just spontaneously think of that your body gives you joy. Think about the joy you find from movement. Dancing, walking, running, hiking, swaying. The joy you get from physical touch. Think about how nice it is when you finally surrender and let yourself be hugged. Like really hugged. Not fighting. And the joy we get from preparing our food and the pleasure that eating gives us, and digesting and eliminating. All those things are really pleasurable. And you might think about, do you get joy from watching your own physical health, from paying attention to what you need? If you are getting joy from that, that's got to be good for you, right? But what if you're not getting joy from that? What if you're just, kind of, that's just something you got to do. You got to go to the doctor, or you got to, fill in the blank. You got to take your vitamins. Instead of thinking of your vitamins as these wonderful little delivery systems of joy. So as we seek out medical care as we need it, and it doesn't matter what kind of medical care you're seeking out, whether it's massage therapy or a neurologist, it just doesn't matter. When you seek out medical care, you are taking care of your own body, but you're also making a contribution to your community. Because if you don't take care of your body, you become less functional. So think in terms of supporting your family and your community by taking care of yourself. I mean, it's really a gift that we give ourselves to stay as healthy as we can. But it's also a gift we give our family. We all know the person who has just abused their body and then becomes kind of a drag on the community, right? So think in terms of caring for yourself as being a gift you're giving everybody that loves you. Does your body give you joy? And then there's the emotional aspect. So I think of emotions as climate, the climate of the human condition. How our emotions waft through our structure like clouds moving overhead. So what is your emotional climate right now? What is it? Resilience comes from knowing where you're at. If you don't know what your emotional climate is, it's pretty hard to address concerns or to just downright do something that makes you feel better. A lot of times we just kind of act out of like spontaneous leaping out into the world with our emotional stuff. And naming what you're feeling requires you to feel that emotion. You know, everybody talks about stress and anxiety. Guess what they're doing? They're not naming their emotions. Stress is not an emotion. Stress is a condition that contains emotions, usually unexpressed. And anxiety, that's not an emotion either. It's a state. Some people say a neurological state. I say it's a congested state. When we get into anxiousness, it's most generally because we're really congested. And what's that congestion? It's emotions. We haven't talked about them. We haven't really told the truth. We haven't said I'm angry or I'm frustrated or I'm hurt or I'm just so confused. And there's something about naming emotions, confiding in another person that emotional truth or emotional state, and then just talking things out with somebody that helps you release anger and frustration and in a positive way. So it's like letting your emotions out will bring you back to yourself. Because emotions are just climate. For some people, it's very hard to express their honest emotion. And they want to cover it over. And they say things like, well, I'm English, or I'm Canadian, or I'm a guy. You know, we don't really, talk about our emotions much. But the truth is that by speaking your emotional reality out, by acknowledging the weather in your own structure, the climate, you can come back to your authentic self. That place where your emotional beingness is even, smooth, honest, open. And you can find your beingness again, your ground of being. So what is your emotional climate right now? It's probably even changed in the last couple minutes. Because it's climate. The sun comes out from behind the cloud and, oh, that's climate. And it goes behind a cloud and, oh, that's climate. And then it rains and, oh, that's climate. What is your emotional climate? So then the other one of the 4 aspects of resilience, right, is your psychological aspect. So these are all things that will bring you resilience. If you ask, how does your body give you joy? And then you fulfill that joy. If you ask how or what your emotional climate is right now, and you notice it, you recognize it, you are conscious with it, that gives you resilience. And psychologically, everyone tries to understand the best they can. They're coping the best they can. Even if you look at yourself and you say, this is just a train wreck, you're still coping the best you can. You're doing the best you can. So you want to ask yourself, what's my state of mind right now? Which is not how you feel about something. It's the state of your mind. And maybe there's a word that describes kind of where you're sitting at this moment. And as we remember back to that larger field around us all, this enormous shared field that we are in right now, the field of connection, creativity, and healing. We're in this together, the shared field. That is part of truly understanding what it is that we are doing and how we best can cope. So if you can lift up into that field, you can look at your state of mind from a different angle. And finally, we come to spiritual resilience. And the only real question that you have to ask about that is your spiritual practice giving you the solace you need right now? Is what you're doing as a spiritual practice giving you solace? Because that's the point of spiritual practice, to soothe the beast. Because that's what we are after all. We're mammals, little beasties. And we need to soothe the beast. So from the point of view of compassion for yourself, are you feeling secure in your connection to yourself? And is your spiritual practice making that stronger? So ask yourself that. As we connect to ourselves, we connect to others, because self and other are in many ways indistinct when you begin to look at spirit. Just like in the field, we're all in the field together. You're not a little tiny sliver of the field, you're the field. And it's a great expansive feeling. The same is true for your own spiritual evolution. If your practice is giving you solace, if you're feeling secure in your connection to yourself, to be connected to others is a very, very tiny movement. And it allows you, with the deep breath, to feel the power of the human condition, which at a spiritual level is pretty great. When we get caught in these, in dividing ourselves up and thinking that we're only physical bodies, there's a loss of the upper room, if you will. It's like you're suddenly living on the ground floor, or more than that, in the basement. And you forgot that there's a staircase and an upper room that you can go to. So the four aspects are ways that you can look at your own resilience. And by lifting yourself up into this upper room, into this higher self, if you can lift up above your own troubles, just for a moment, you can begin to see that you can get outside of your troubles. We're living in trying times. We're living in times that are in many ways stealing from us something spectacular, which is this joy, this lightness. So we have to work even harder to stay in it. We have to be the ones who are holding the light. We have to be. Humanity needs us to be. We need to remember that we are more than physical bodies, that we are more than emotional climate, that we are more than just understanding how things work, and that we're way more than zoning out. Remembering all that we are, remembering the power that we have when we step outside of the trying times and realize that we live in an eternal flow. We are in a conscious awareness that is divine in nature, and it's only a matter of opening your eyes to see it. Thanks for joining me today. I love being with you. It does my heart good. I hope yours. And the best part about seeing all your beautiful faces and being with you and feeling your wonderful energy is that not only do we know we're not alone, but we know how powerful we truly are. We can affect change. We can lift the spirits of others. And best of all, we can give our lives a kind of meaning that we really want to give them. So keep asking yourself, Does my body give me joy? What's my emotional climate? What's the state of my mind? And am I connecting to myself? Keep asking those questions. That'll give you the resilience that you need. So we've got another free program coming up on what date is it? The Friday the 16th. We have a program called Ask Me Anything. Pretty humorous title. But you're invited. Cheryl, if you could show the slide. You're invited. It's free. Come and ask me anything. We tend to try to make it be about the sacred anatomy, but heck, I'll talk about anything. So bring your questions and come and play. It's about an hour, usually an hour and a little more. I kind of stretch it. And then we have another Sangha next month that's coming up on the 8th of February. Please put that on your calendar. And I was going to announce a series, but I'm holding back to watch what happens on the planet. I'm going to pull my topic from the planet because I think we need to be staying very current with what's going on energetically within ourselves. Please be careful in the world. Watch yourself. Remember you're loved and that you're important. You're a critical member of the team. So I will see you next time. Love and peace to all of you.